Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. I am your host, Jason Spears, and Colt fans, we've got a lot to talk about.
Well, it wasn't pretty, folks, but the Colts got a win, a much-needed win today in Nashville as they come back in the fourth quarter and beat the Tennessee Titans 20-17. If you've paid close attention to this team throughout the season, you've noticed a trend that they've been absolutely terrible in the fourth quarter. Going into this game, they had given up 122 total points on defense, and 61 of those were in the fourth quarter. Well, today, they gave up no points in the fourth quarter, and that was the difference in the game as they outscored the Titans 10-0. En route to a 20-17 win. Wasn't pretty by any stretch of the imagination, but a win is a win, and we keep it moving. Get back to 3-3, get our first divisional win, and, we'll see what happens going into next week. Hopefully, JT will come back because he is sorely missed in the running game. We need AR because for a lot of reasons, but I just think the extra dimension he adds to the team as far as being able to run and also stretch the field with his deep ball is sorely missed. I think Flacco's done a decent job. I thought he played okay today. I didn't think he was great. Made a couple really bad throws, and they got lucky on some calls, some penalties on interceptions down in the end zone. So I wasn't super impressed with Flacco. He played, I thought, a much better game last week. But at the end of the day, it's about finding ways to win games, and that's what this was. They found a way to win. It wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win, and that's all that matters in this league. At the end of the year, when they count wins up, it doesn't give you style points. So Colts were just a little bit better today. Getting into the game a little bit, once again, the Colts get the ball, go right down the field, score, and you think it's going to be one of those days where maybe the Colts can actually pull away, but they just could not get anything consistently going, and it kind of reminded me of the Jacksonville game. They go right down the field, they score, and then they can't really get anything going offensively or get really any rhythm until the fourth quarter. Once again, last week they scored 24. This week against a better defense, they scored 10 in the fourth quarter. So their offense is on first drives and in the fourth quarter has been very, very good. It's the in-between that's been the problem. So they've got to work on that. I didn't think Steichen was good today at all. I'm pretty hard on him because I have high expectations. I think he's a really, really smart coach. But I just thought the game plan today left a little bit to be desired. I didn't understand the use of the inside running game into the teeth of that defense, especially with Surman. He rushed 18 times for 29 yards. There just wasn't anything there. There were a couple of drives into the red zone where I thought we were basically just pissing downs away, handing the ball off to him. And I didn't understand it because you're not getting any yardage running towards Simmons or Sweat. They're enormous. They're both extremely talented. Sweat, is going to be a really, really good player. He's already good, but he's going to get even better, and Simmons is as good as it gets in this league, and we're running at him. I just thought that was a stupid game plan, and also, a lot of phone booth football where everything's in tight, two tight ends, and you're just not going to be able to run on a defense like that, and I just didn't like it. But again, they found a way to win. I hope that Steichen can learn from this. I'm a fan of attacking teams' weaknesses, not their strengths. And the matchup of Surman versus Simmons and Sweat inside is not a good one for the Colts. Because one, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. I say this with just the truth. I don't think Surman is an NFL caliber back. I think he's an NFL caliber blocker, but he's just too slow as far as in the run game, and he's just not he doesn't have enough juice He's just too slow. You saw the difference when Goodson came in the game. It was like it looked like they sped up the tape or the video. He looks so much faster and more explosive than Surman. I don't understand the need or the desire to run him 18 times into the teeth of the defense. I have no idea what Shane was thinking. I'd love to hear what his plan was with that, because when you look at the statistics, 18 carries, 29 yards for Surman, and 8 carries, 51 yards for Goodson. I understand Goodson is not nearly the blocker that Surman is, but Surman can't run the ball, and he's not very elusive catching it either. So, I mean, everything is rooted in Chris Ballard. He didn't get a complete back to back up JT. So we're having to go with a guy like Surman. So when he's in the game, you're like, okay, it's probably a run, and when Goodson's in the game, you're thinking, okay, it's probably a pass. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's frustrating. I thought, this game would be a little different, but the Titans have a solid defense. I mean, their numbers bear it out. They're very difficult to play against. I thought the Colts moved the ball fairly well, but they just didn't finish in the red zone as much as they needed to really pull away in this game. And the Titans couldn't throw the ball. We couldn't run the ball, so it was kind of an interesting dichotomy of, what is going to take over. And at the end of the day, we were able to find 2 touchdowns in the passing game, where they were only able to get that one on a miscommunication early in the game. One of the stats I look at that I thought really, played a major role in this game was the penalties. I mean, there were 16 total penalties called, 11 against the Titans, 5 against the Colts. And it was really the first time in a long time where I felt like the Colts got the benefit of that, the benefit of the whistle. There were certainly a couple of plays. There was one on Jalen Jones where it was clearly pass interference and they didn't call it. But we've been on the other end of that a million times. And there's no guarantee the Titans score anyway. None of them were end zone plays. So, but at the end of the day, man, when you get 11 penalties for 113 yards, I mean, they had more penalty yardage than they had passing yardage. And the Colts were 5 for 40. So, if you can keep it 5 or less in a game, that's usually pretty good. Anything over that's bad, and the Titans were bad. I mean, there was a lot of, I thought there was a lot of penalties on the Titans. I thought their tackle was holding a lot. They didn't call any of those, but it was a penalty fest and not the prettiest game to watch. Kind of a boring paint drying game, but again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's all about wins. Go ahead and take a look at the offense. Joe Flacco was 22 of 38 for 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. The interception was egregiously bad. A terrible throw, should never have been made. But, he made some good throws. He had a great throw to Pittman and to kind of seal the game on third down. And Pitt won on that 50-50 ball and, got the ball to Downs for a touchdown. So he played okay. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. Kind of just an average game against a good defense. Like, let's not get it twisted. The Titans have a pretty good defense and a lot of good players. So that was good to see, that they got in the end zone a couple times. As I mentioned earlier, Goodson ran it 8 times for 51 yards, and Surman ran it 18 times for 29 yards. To me, the two guys that really made the plays of the day were Downs. He had 7 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. A couple of really big third down conversions, and I think he had a 4th down conversion. And then Pitt had 3 receptions for 35 yards, and those were all huge plays. So, for me, I thought Downs especially was good, but Pittman winning that 50-50 ball in the end zone, and then getting that throw, that crosser at the end of the game. That kind of clinched it for us, and was a huge play. And I can't say enough about Pittman, man. Obviously, he's dealing with some serious back issues, and to come out there and play like he did, and to make those two big plays says a lot about his character and who he is as a player and a teammate. It was outstanding just to have him out there. I was, like most of you read earlier in the week, he was going on IR. And then Friday practice full, and the next thing you know, he's making, contested catches in the end zone to help us win a game and put us ahead. So really, really gutty performance by him. And hopefully, whatever needs to be done to keep him playing can be done, because he's such a huge part of the offense, not necessarily with numbers, but just he makes big plays for this team. And so and he's sure-handed, and I think, a lot of us were hard on him early in the year, and I think he was playing with an injury the whole time. It was not an effort thing. I think he was hurt, and he's been playing through it and trying to play through it for his teammates, and who knows what the future holds with him. But I can tell you this, he's one of the tougher players in this league, and if he can play, he'll play. He's not one of these guys that are looking for an out, that just want to sit and collect a paycheck. This guy is an ultimate teammate, really talented player, and as tough as they come in this league. So really outstanding job by him to show up and make some big plays and help this team get a win that they had to have going into their home game with Miami before they start the gauntlet of the 5 games they play after that. So I just wanted to give Pitt some love. I know the stats aren't sexy, but if you watch the game, you know how important those catches were. And now we'll get into the defense a little bit. Dio had a forced fumble. We didn't recover it, but, he's always in the middle of things. Womack had 2 passes defended, and really he's been as good a pickup as Chris Ballard's had, in my opinion. He's been outstanding, and every week he gets better. I think you're going to see him start on the outside opposite of Jones for the rest of the year, and hopefully just continue to get better and better, because he's really looked good in the short amount of time that we've had him. And then Blackman with an interception. He had a couple opportunities for one, and he finally got one on that, whatever that was, from Levis. He made that play, and that was a big play. And then I want to give a shout out to Rigo. Rigo, he's not a defensive player, but he certainly helped the defense at the end of the game with that punt. He was outstanding today, and just a big time punt. Just down the stretch of this game, the Colts just made big plays when they had to have them. The touchdown to Pitt, the third down to Pitt, the punt to Penham at the 4. Those were huge plays, and the difference really in the game, I thought. Those were the difference. And Downs had some difference making first downs as well. So in the fourth quarter, I think the better team showed itself, and the Colts outscored them 10-0 and got it done. I thought that was the difference in the game. Those plays by Downs and Pittman really, those were plays that they had to make, and they made them. And if you look at the Titans, when they had to have plays, they didn't get them. And you give credit to this Colts defense. They were really good in the passing game today. They didn't give up any big plays in their passing game. They held Ridley without a catch on 8 targets. Jones and Womack and Moore were good, really, really good. And they didn't have a spectacular day rushing the quarterback. They had no sacks for the second straight week. That's 8 quarters without a sack, and that's going to have to improve moving forward, because it's just that you're not going to win this league doing that. I don't know what the pressure numbers were, but they just did not get enough pressure on Levis to as much as you would like to get on him. Fortunately for the Colts, Levis is not a very good quarterback, so it didn't affect them nearly as much as it did last week when they couldn't get to Lawrence. Not that Lawrence is any better. You saw what Chicago did to him. He's a lot better than Levis, but he's not a great quarterback by any stretch. But you saw how Flus in Chicago kind of took him and out of the game and kind of destroyed the Jags today, and showed what they really are, which is a really bad football team that we should never have lost to, but we know how that goes down in Jacksonville. But yeah, the secondary was really good in this game, and that was good to see. I thought down the stretch of the game, the defense bowed up and did a good job. And just looking at the numbers as far as the passing game, as I mentioned, Ridley, 8 targets, no catches. Levis, 16 completions and 27 attempts for 95 yards. That is not going to win you a lot of games. That's 3.5 yards per catch. And that was less than what they had on the ground, which was 5.2 yards per carry. Defense against the run is bad. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. The linebackers were not great against the run today. The front wasn't good. Really, the tackling on this defense is so bad. I don't know what to say about it. They had, I think, a 3rd and 16 or a 3rd and 19 and a draw play to the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, it's the second week in a row where something ridiculous has happened. There's no excuse for it. It's unacceptable. Giving up 28 carries, 146 yards, and a touchdown rushing, 5.2 yards per carry is terrible. I understand there's injuries and all that, but I'm just tired of the excuses. You have to make tackles. That the touchdown that Pollard had was just an embarrassing play. Once again, just the effort was not there. You have to want to tackle. You have to want to be physical. You have to want to run to the ball. You have to want to hit guys. You have to want to, it's want to. That's what it is. It's effort. It's hustle, and the Colts just don't do it enough. They just don't do it enough, and they have a lot of guys that don't like tackling on this defense. And until they embrace the fact that you're going to have to hit to win and be physical, whether that's up front or on the back end, it's going to be hard for this team to slow down teams that can run. Luckily, the other dimension to the Titans stunk because their quarterback is terrible, and that is the saving grace of this game, because when you run the ball that much for that many yards per carry, that should make throwing the ball easier. And it's insane to me that Levis could only throw for 95 yards. That's crazy. That just shows how bad he is, because they had everything working on the ground. We couldn't stop them. So the running, the run defense continues to be bad. I'm at my wit's end. People are like, well, you can't blame Bradley for missed tackles. Actually, I can, because that's fundamentals, execution. Who teaches that? Who teaches, how to tackle? Who teaches the fundamentals of tackling? Gus Bradley does, and the position coaches do. So of course that matters. But these are professionals. They have to want to do it too. So it's a combination. At the end of the day, man, they're like, I think, close to dead last in run defense. And I mean, I don't know what to say about it anymore. It's just either it's egregiously bad run defense or egregiously bad pass defense. Last week it was egregiously bad defense. Just in every way. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. This week they stopped the pass. They couldn't stop the run, though, and that's concerning, especially when you're dealing with a one-dimensional team. It should be easier to slow down the run, but they didn't do a very good job of that. So I'm going to be honest, the Titans' offense is as bad as that I've seen as far as like throwing the ball. It's when your quarterback is that inhibited and they don't allow him to do anything because of the fact that he's a turnover machine. I mean, it's going to be hard for that team to score, especially when they play defenses that can actually slow down the run and put it in Levis's hands. It's just not going to work for them. And they had a bye to prepare for this game too, so that's crazy to me that's what they put out there after a bye. But anyway, so we get the win. We move to 3-3. The only injury that I know of from this game is Ryan Kelly with the quad. We all know that usually, there'll be more injuries that pop up, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll get the first injury report and it'll be a half mile long like it always is. But other than Kelly, I don't think I saw anyone get injured, so that's a positive. Pittman is always going to be a question mark because of the back. Backs are tricky and you just never know. But hopefully, I have a hard time seeing Buckner being back already. That injury looked bad. But hopefully we can get Jonathan and AR back. They're certainly difference makers, especially Taylor. Taylor changes everything. So not having him in there is a killer, especially with Flacco because he can't move. So and then you put Surman in, who's like a negative running back. He's probably the worst number 2 back in the league. And I'm trying. Look, I know I sound super negative, but I try to keep things in perspective. The team we just beat is not good. Like, they're probably going to win 4 games or 5 games all year. I thought, obviously the Bears and the Steelers wins are much more impressive because those teams are actually somewhat good. And the Titans' defense is fine, but their offense is scary bad. So, I'm going to be hard on the Colts because I think the Colts are a better team. And I just, you take the wins where you can get them, but they've got to play better. This is not going to translate against good teams. I'm just telling you that now. It's nice to win, but when they get in that gauntlet of Houston, Detroit, Buffalo, New York, and Minnesota, you can't be putting out these performances. It's not going to be good enough. But hopefully by that point, we'll have some guys back and we can be competitive in those games because that is going to be a murderer's row of tough games against tough teams with great records. I mean, Minnesota, their defense is unbelievable. Flores has done an amazing job there. And then you talk about Sam Darnold's been playing well. Then you look at Buffalo and Josh Allen, and you go down and Detroit's just a really good all-around team, physical on both sides of the ball. Unfortunately, I think Aiden Hutchinson's out for the year, which is horrible. I think he had a similar injury that Fry's had, and you never want to see that. And I wish him the best. But yeah, those are going to be tough games. I mean, the most winnable game is probably the Jets game, and that's on Monday Night Football. So I don't know, man, but they've got to play better than they played today. The defense, again, solid in the past game, but I think most of that is probably who they're playing against as far as the quarterback. I thought the Titans' offensive line actually did a really good job on our defensive line. He had time to throw. He's not good. Anybody that thinks Will Levis is superior to Anthony Richardson doesn't watch football, because I didn't see anything that Levis did that impressed me at all. He looked better to me last year, honestly. But the positives are, I think we're going to get some guys back. Womack played outstanding on defense. Jones played pretty well too. Blackman and the safeties were decent. The linebackers were decent. But again, the run game, I don't know how that gets fixed, because it's the same thing every week. It's just they can't tackle. They're one of the worst. They're probably I think they're the 4th worst tackling team in the NFL. I feel like they're the worst, but they have to be better. I don't know what else to say. They got to get to the quarterback more. They've got to force more turnovers. They've got to tackle better. They've got to limit, long runs and splash plays on 3rd and more than 15. They've allowed so many of those. Another touchdown on 3rd and 16 today, or maybe it was 19, 3rd and 19 on a draw play. that crap has to get corrected, and we keep seeing it every week, and then another miscommunication in the end zone. I put all that on the coach. Because at what point, the communication has to be set up so it's easy. And at what point, this has been 3 years of this miscommunication crap. It happened all the time with 25, the backup safety, and then it happened with Flowers. And it's just like anytime there's a rub route or something like that near the end zone, two guys cover one guy and then one guy's wide open, and it happens all the time, and it is so frustrating. Because these things should be easily fixable. It should not, they're professional players. And this week, I think it was Kenny Moore. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's frustrating as a fan because it's one thing when you're just bad, but tackling is want to and effort, and communication is just being locked in on, the details. Locked in on the details, focused on the fundamentals, all that stuff. We lack in all those areas. And we're 6 games in, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. The only thing I can hope for is that we get some of our players back, and maybe that changes things. But I don't know if getting DeForest Buckner back is going to make that big of a difference with tackling. I don't know. Just not enough difference makers on the defense, and it's going to be a year-long problem. But as far as today goes, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, outstanding. Flacco was good when he had to be. Secondary played well. Rigo was good. Thought Steichen was terrible. When you're running Trey Surman 18 times for 29 yards into the strongest point of the Titans defense, which is easily Simmons, Sweat, those guys in there, that's dumb. You're just wasting downs. And he did it. He did. I think he ran it 3 straight times when we had first and goal, and was just like, what are we doing? I just didn't understand the play calling. It felt like Frank Reich was calling the game today. I did not like the game plan at all. But again, you don't have Jonathan Taylor. What are you going to do? Goodson needs to be in there more. That's all I can say. And you're just going to have to live with the pass blocking, because you get nothing from having Trey Sermon in there unless you bring him in on third downs to block, to pick up blitzes or whatever, because he doesn't give you anything on the ground or in the passing game. So if you want to be more explosive and have some more splash plays, you got to get Goodson out there. It's that simple. So, I think the game just came down to who really played better at the end, and the Colts made more plays. The defense got stout, and that was the difference in the game. Hopefully the next time we play them, we'll play better, because I think, this was not our best game, and that it's always good to win when you don't play your best game. There's so much room for improvement, but we have to get AR back. Flacco is he's a good backup quarterback, but I just want AR out there. The dimensions he brings to the offense and just getting the experience and the repetitions are just something that they need to have and they need to see. I thought he should have played today, but if they're going to be extra cautious with him, fine. He needs to play next week, barring a setback. And hopefully Taylor will be back out there this week too, because they miss him. The backup running back is so bad. It's just, the one thing I will say is at least he hasn't fumbled, so that's good. But outside of that, he really brings you nothing. And, you got to have somebody that's a threat back there, or it's just going to be one-dimensional offense, and that's not going to win you a lot of games. And it's going to be a struggle because you don't have the legs with Flacco. He can't move, and you don't have a legitimate running game because you only, let Goodson run it 8 times. So they need that dimension of being the threat of being able to run to open up the passing game. They just haven't had that the last 2 weeks, so they need to get that back. I'm excited for next week. The Dolphins come to Indy, and we seem to play better at home, so should be a fun week. And I don't think Tua is going to be back for this game, so it'll probably be Huntley. I guess they're going to play. But the Colts, again, they can't sleep on anybody. They can't sleep on any team. We saw with Malik Willis, he played almost a perfect game against us. We couldn't stop the run. The Dolphins are going to try to run the ball. McDaniel's a really smart coach. They'll figure out a way to give themselves the best chance to win. And so you can't take it for granted. You can't say, well, Huntley's a backup. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If we don't stop the run and make Tyler Huntley beat us, then it could be a long game. So the Colts have to they just have to get it in their heads that they're going to be more physical. They're going to be the more physical team. They're going to hit. They're going to tackle. They're going to play fundamentally sound. They're going to run to the ball, make plays. They have to get that in their head. I don't know what they need to do it, but they need to do it because that's the only way they're going to get better on defense. And if they don't get better on defense, they're going to have a really hard time winning games. So, good to win. Always good to win on the road against a rival. Good to not have to listen to Titan fans. And it's nice to be back to 500. Hopefully we can get over 500. I don't think we've been over 500 this year. Or have we? I don't know. I think we were, we won. Man, my memory's bad because we lost to Houston, and then who do we play after Houston? Drawing a blank. I know we beat the Steelers and the Bears back to back, and then Jacksonville. All the Packers. So 3-3. Started 0-2, got back to 3-3. That's good. Because that didn't look good going into those two home games against the Bears, who are 4-2, and the Steelers, who are now 4-2. So we're in a decent spot considering how we started, and now we just have to start getting better, a lot better, moving forward. And I mean that in every facet of the game. And hopefully we can do that. If we can do that, get a win next week and get, our defense playing a little better in the run game, that would be nice. Get some more pressure on the quarterback. That would be good too. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we get some guys back. But it's good to win. It's good to win our first game in the division. Hopefully we can find a way to win the rest of our games in the division, although going to Houston is going to be hard. But we've won there before, so you never know. But it's good to get that first win and get it on the road and get it out of the way. I think it's our first road win too. So that's the bottom line. Winning, as negative as I probably have been, at the end of the day, they won the game. They made the plays when they had to be made at the end, and that's the difference in the game. Like I said to begin the podcast, they'd given up 61 of their 122 points, which is half, in the fourth quarter, and today they gave up 0, and that's the difference in the game. They scored 10, gave up 0, went from 17 to 10 to 20 to 17, and that's a big win for the Colts. And now we move on to Miami. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll be back probably midweek, maybe, if any news breaks or anything, I'll be back before that. But with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for listening. I hope everybody has a great start to their week and enjoy this win, because it's not easy to win in the league. So we all know that. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great one, and I'm out.